Andrew Tate empire didn't just crack. It shattered the moment he stumbled out of that ring looking human. This wasn't a scorecard loss, it was the public execution of the invincible myth. Pay attention because we're rewinding the tape to show you exactly how this implosion was systematically engineered.
Scores the bout 58-56.
Okay. Has to be Chase. Has to be Chase.
And still.
Yes! Yes! Ace! Chase! You king! I love you, Chase! Yes!
That image hit the internet like a hollow point bullet. When you spend years selling total dominance and then suddenly bleed in 4K, the audience stops being fans and starts being predators. People don't just watch a fall like this, they hunt. It was the exact moment the blood hit the water.
So two of the biggest alpha male talkers on the internet took some major L's in the last 24 hours. And I just gotta say, that's a crazy position to end up in. And how did both of them get there? Oh, remember the dude who said, grab his D and twist it? What he didn't say is cup his buttocks and sniff it. Is this some sort of weird Illuminati humiliation ritual? I'm gonna be 100% real with y'all. I'm under no illusion that I could get in the ring and beat either of them dudes that those boys was fighting. But I wouldn't be on my knees trying to give them throat hugs either. What do y'all think about this? Let me know down in the comment.
This wasn't just a bad night. It was a total structural collapse. The second Tate looked human, the myth ran out of oxygen. Every replay you see isn't just a highlight, it's another brick being ripped out of the fortress he spent a decade building around his name.
Yeah, obviously I didn't get the result I wanted, but truthfully the result I wanted was to see if I could still do it. 40 years old, 10 years retired, a little bit of time in a Romanian dungeon. It was always going to be a big ask against someone so much bigger than me, younger than me, more active than me, but I wanted a real challenge. I didn't want to fight a tin can. I didn't want to fight someone older than me or smaller than me. You know, I felt like I won the first 2 rounds, but then because he's 20 kilo heavier, he started leaning on me and sapped some energy. But I didn't quit, never give up, never retreat, never surrender, fight to the end, go out on your shield. So I have no excuses. Training camp went fantastic. Time is the fire in which we all burn. Unfortunately, a 40-year-old's not a 22-year-old, but I gave it my absolute all, and I have nothing but respect for Chase. I have no excuses. I'm not going to say anything bad about him. I'm not going to make up any reasons. He was the man who won. He deserves this victory. Truthfully, completely, and honestly, I'm actually very proud of him. And I'm glad to know that Misfits have a true champion, because he is a true champion.
This is where the narrative turns dark. Tate didn't stumble into this disaster, he manifested it. He chose the fight, he pushed the buttons, and he controlled every variable, right up until the trap snapped shut. It leaves you wondering what kind of unseen desperation was rotting behind closed doors for him to gamble his entire legacy on a fight he couldn't win.
Tate versus DeMoor just went down, and it was not the outcome anyone was expecting. The first round started out with Tate finding his jab and controlling the pace early on, but nothing significant was thrown by either of them. Second round was much the same, with Tate going to the body. DeMoor gets his kick paws out and kind of just claws at him to keep him at range, but Tate does land a nice little combo. Round 3 is where shit starts to go downhill. We see Tate blowing out his ass, and Chase is starting to land. And this is where Tate's low guard starts to become a problem. When he's fresh, he can slip punches with his hands down, but when you start to gas, your reaction time goes and you get clocked. Chase weighed in at 200 pounds on the dot, and he was making Tate carry it, and his legs were starting to go. Round 4, things just get worse. Tate's looking to clinch at every opportunity he gets, just gassed. And Chase looks fresh, and he is gunning for him and starting to land more. Round 5, Tate is checked out and just trying to survive at this point. Chase lands a big uppercut that cuts Tate, and he's clearly trying to finish him, which he could have done if he made space. But he's just up close throwing these real short punches that don't have much behind them. Final round, Chase is just seeing dollar signs. Hunts Tate down the entire round, lands another big uppercut and just keeps clocking him. Tate is just a ragdoll at this point. He can barely stand, but he does seem to get a second win and starts to throw back in a bit to not completely destroy his legacy. But at that point, it was too late and Chase took the win by majority decision. And I'm sat here eating my words. I thought Tate was going to smash him, but fair play to Chase, he beat him in a fair bout.
Dubai wasn't a location, it was a psychological theater. Tate walked in as the self-appointed king, projecting a power illusion so suffocating he eventually became intoxicated by his own hype. That's the ultimate trap. When the leader starts believing his own lie, the downfall is already guaranteed.
Andrew Tate's boxing loss exposed something much deeper than a bad performance. This is a man who has every materialistic thing a guy could dream of, yet he still stepped into a boxing fight he didn't need to. I mean, bro's way past his prime, with physical limitations like bad eyesight which he got in his kickboxing days, which can tell you this fight wasn't about boxing, it was about identity. There are some men who don't know who they are without success, so they never stop chasing it and chasing battles. Not because they have to, but because it prevents them from facing themselves. And in this situation, Tate would have to face the fact he has multiple kids with multiple mothers, he built his wealth off in an immoral webcam business, or face the unreleased emotions of being an innocent man locked up for a couple years. It can be anything but only he knows. And his boxing fight was a non-stop grind, disguised as a way to run from himself.
The hierarchy shattered before a single punch even landed. DeMoor wasn't written to be the predator. He was supposed to be the punchline. But the second that assumption cracked, you could smell the oxygen leaving the room as pure, unfiltered panic set in.
Defeated by Chase DeMoor in a boxing match. Badly. Andrew Tate wanted to fight 5 or 6 people and defend a heavyweight championship, but he didn't even win the first one because at the end of his fight with Chase DeMoor, he was laid to the floor with his face to the ground. And before this, Andrew Tate was confident he was going to win, saying he might even change his opponent. But Chase DeMoor said, "You only want to change your opponent because you know I'm going to beat TS out of you." Andrew Tate couldn't back down because he tells everybody he's an alpha male. He can defeat anybody with his perspicacity, but he ended up being the one defeated.
Wait, isn't he supposed to be an alpha male?
Frames it that way online and constantly posts videos of himself fighting, but I guess it was all for nothing. Because he teaches young boys to be just like him. However, he's facing legal troubles for trafficking people in multiple countries and has been criticized for his poor treatment and abuse of women. He also calls himself the top G and says all man should want to be like him. So people started calling him Bodigy, insinuating that he receives dominance instead of giving it. They said his punches looked weak in that fight and that he was all which is ironic because he claims he's a 4-time kickboxing world champion.
So a kickboxing world champion lost to an influencer?
He started to blame his age and started bragging about his money. But yes, Andrew Tate lost just like Jake.
So Jake Paul and Andrew Tate got knocked out?
The moment the bell rang, you could feel the energy hemorrhage. It was a slow-motion car crash. Arrogance dissolved into calculation. Calculation soured into exhaustion. And then, the final stage, unfiltered fear. And right then, the world saw something they were never supposed to see.
You looked a little bit older. People do not realize how exhausting a fight is. Even just like the build up to a fight, you can be in great shape. We saw it in Jake's fight too. Tate wasn't scared of that fight. I don't think Andrew Tate was scared to fight Chase DeMoor at all. I think that was literally being out the game for so long. I don't know how serious he took the fight. I had no insight on his camp at all.
Tate's entire style is a house of cards that only stands when he's fresh. The second his lungs redlined, that signature low guard stopped looking like swagger. It started looking like a suicide note.
Not worth the payout? That's baloney. I think anyone would take a broken jaw for $90 million. That is absolutely worth the payout. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did. Again, I wasn't going to bother watching the fight, but I saw the highlights from it. I am shocked he made it 6 rounds. Granted, a lot of it was on his knees, but still. That shot to the jaw was insane. Oh yeah, that was a wallop. Can't believe it didn't KO him right then and there. I mean, it was a TKO, but it didn't just like instantly turn his lights off. Not worth the payout. That's baloney. That is absolutely worth the payout. I mean, that could lead to lifelong issues, so I don't know. I know a broken jaw can, in very rare instances, be like a permanent, almost debilitating thing. But like if you have to eat liquid meals and like basically baby mush everything, that's still probably worth it for $90 million. $90 million for just mush foods, still probably worth.
Every clinch was a desperate confession of defeat, and every labored breath was a siren for the end. The crowd could feel the myth evaporating in real time, long before the commentators had the guts to say it out loud.
AJ looking for the big shot to finish it. There's a right hand, there's a left hook and an uppercut. AJ with an overhand, Jake just smiles at him.
He's a dog, dude.
He is something else, dog. Big left hook from AJ, right hand, and Jake hits the canvas. That was a huge right hand. Jake turned around, I think he's telling him that was a big shot. And that's it. Anthony Joshua stops Jake Paul in round number 6 after probably the first flush right hand he landed on Jake. AJ goes with the throat slash, but he did what he was supposed to do. I don't want to take away from AJ's victory. That was a great win.
By the final rounds, the mission had shifted. He wasn't fighting for glory anymore, he was fighting for air. And survival mode is the exact graveyard where artificial legends go to bleed out in 4K.
Oh. Don't mind me. Just smoking on that Jake Paul pack. Honestly, Jake Paul, trash. Tommy Fury, trash.
I didn't like that. You see?
This is where the paranoia takes root. Some losses are just noise, but this felt sinister. It exposed a dark reality. Tate wasn't fighting to reach a goal, he was fighting to outrun a ghost.
Round 5 hasn't finished yet, but you ain't really particularly interested in watching the rest of that, are you?
Not really.
What are your thoughts on what we've seen so far?
I've given my life 20 years to this sport. Blood, sweat and tears. I consider myself one of the best striking martial artists on the world. A pair of numpties like that call me out and I'm sat ringside. I have to leave because it disrespects everything I believe in and everything I've trained for. It's just, what am I watching? I'm actually unlearning as I'm watching. So yeah,
I mean, even if you were to get paid big money, which it would be, would you not even want to step in the ring with someone of that level?
The internet didn't just react, it detonated. This wasn't about a loss, it was about the addiction to contradiction. The world watched the top G brand cannibalize itself in unfiltered, high-definition irony.
Andrew Tate admits he'd lose to Jake Paul. Andrew Tate agreed that the fight against Jake Paul wouldn't go very well because he's already way out of his prime. I'm not ready for Jake. Time is the fire in which we all burn. Fighting is for young men.
He tried to rebrand the defeat as courage and a noble test of fear, but that's a script written by men who have already lost the room. Humility after a total collapse isn't wisdom, it's damage control. And don't miss the symbolism. Getting outworked by a man in pink gloves didn't just bruise his ego, it permanently rewired the narrative. When Jake Paul's career detonated the exact same weekend, the coincidence died. This was a synchronized pattern. Two loud myths finally slammed into the same brick wall of reality. Hype can outrun the truth for a long time, but reality always swings back harder. The internet connected the dots instantly because chaos loves symmetry. Watching two icons of bravado fall together felt like a cosmic correction. But here's what nobody is saying. Who actually benefits from this timing? When two massive narratives collapse at once, someone is always repositioning in the shadows. Even the veterans walking out mid-fight sent a message louder than any tweet. Disrespect cuts deeper than any insult when you've given your life to the craft. Hearing Tate admit his limits was a bigger shock than any punch he took in that ring. This weekend didn't just end careers, it poisoned the currency of certainty. Both men traded on being untouchable, and now that the shield is gone, everything is wobbling. The silence you hear right now is the loudest part, because behind the scenes, alliances are shifting, and this fallout is only just beginning.